Today, what we would do is when we speak of DevOps, first thing that comes to discussion is you have a lot of tools here. Okay, so let us try to understand why we do all of this. Okay, so yeah, recording have started, sir. Thank you. Right. So I'll have some basic questions, and initially, these questions have nothing to do with your technical skills, what you're working, and all of that stuff. Okay, right. So, right. Sir. First thing, what is the app which you're using to give me one answer? రెండు మూడు చెప్పొద్దు ఒకటే రైట్ టు book movie tickets. What is the app which you're using, sir? People on the web, you don't watch movies, is it? Being in Telugu states, what not watching movie is a crime. So what is your answer? Okay, yeah, let me take the updated one. Are you saying majority of the people are going for book my show? Yeah, right. Okay, okay, sir. And then what is the app which you are using to book bus tickets? దీనికి ఎంత ఆలోచించాలా? Red bus, good. Thank you. Right. Okay. So now, so over here, most of the people use book my show. Okay. If you basically do the survey, majority of the people will answer red bus. Now, why? Why red bus and book my show? There are many other apps, right? There is Paytm, Avibus, even Amazon Pay has all of these things. But still, why do we use book my show and why do you think we use red bus? What is the reason for that? Okay. Pardon me? Don't worry about it. There is nothing called as wrong and right answer. You have an answer. That's it. Yeah. Pawan, you can type your answers, sir. Yeah. Popular. That is true. They are popular. Okay. Fine. But what is the reason why you use it? Habituated. Yeah, kind of correct. 5-star apps, public comfortable. Okay. Right. Demand. Easy UI. More options. More options is might not be entirely true. More options and offers are not true because almost everyone has a similar offers. Okay. Let me try to tell you the answer and you just tell me whether it is true or not. Okay. Red bus was released first to market. Yeah. So Red bus was the first app which was developed by some of the engineers from Bits Pilani. And they used to stay near Silk Board in Bangalore where a lot of buses start in the evening. So these guys in the evening, they were free in the rooms and they have built that application. And later on, they have sold for decent value to Go Ibibo. Now Go Ibibo basically owns Red bus. Okay. So Book My Show. Book My Show was also the first application to. There were other applications which were basically giving you option to book movie tickets, but they were specific. So Inox had Inox booking. PVR had PVR's booking, but Book My Show was first to market. Okay. So now do you agree to the statement? Any application or feature released first to market has business advantage. You said easy UI, comfortable and all that stuff, right? The reason is because that is where you have started working. That is where you have started booking tickets. So you find Book My Show comfortable because that was your first experience with that. Okay. So any application or feature that is basically released first to the market has more chances of uh, business. Okay, right? So the other examples of it where this is not true, but still there is a tough competition is uh, in India, Flipkart was first released to the market, but throughout the world, Amazon is a beast in shopping. Okay, in India, Amazon has overtaken Flipkart, but still it gets very tough competition from Flipkart. So, for example, in US, Flipkart can't go and survive. Okay, but in India, they're still facing tough competition. Same thing between Ola and Uber. Ola was released into the Indian market first, and then came Uber, which is almost present across the globe. Okay, they face very tough competition from Ola because they were released first to the market. Okay, so generally, any application which is first to the market and it is decent has an advantage. Okay, right. Now, how do you like updates? Okay, so do you like frequent and small updates or large and yearly updates? ఏది చూడమంటారు? Generally, when I give you a large set of updates on one day, it would be difficult for us to handle. So as a customer, I don't want to see all the large updates at one shot, but rather I would want smaller updates. Okay, you give me an update, just like how it happens with our mobile apps. Okay, you get an update. The moment you update, you will be seeing new features added immediately. Okay, right. Now, so people who are responsible for delivering applications quickly to market should be paid well and are required for every project. Do you agree with me on this? Is this statement sounding okay? Yes. By the way, that is your job description. DevOps engineer గా మీరు చేసేది అదే. As a DevOps engineer, your job responsibility is to ensure that you are delivering quickly to the market. Okay, and then you don't give surprises. You give smaller updates frequently. But here there is certain things which you need to understand. Have you ever seen a message on Facebook which says that uh, today we are giving a very important security update? So from night 10 o'clock till tomorrow morning 8 o'clock, Facebook will not be accessible. Have you ever seen a message like that on Facebook? Chusara. Okay. Have you ever seen such message on Google? Have you ever seen the such message from your bank saying that internet banking will not be available from today 10 o'clock till tomorrow 8 o'clock? Yes. So do you think that your bank has more users than Facebook? మీ బ్యాంక్ కి ఫేస్బుక్ కన్నా ఎక్కువ యూజర్లు ఉంటారా ఇన్స్టాగ్రామ్ కన్నా నో బట్ స్టిల్ వెన్ దే ఆర్ అప్డేటింగ్ న్యూ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ దే ఆర్ టేకింగ్ ఎ డౌన్ టైమ్ బట్ ఫేస్బుక్ అండ్ అమెజాన్ డోంట్ డూ దట్ ఓకే ఈవెన్ అమెజాన్ okay right generally what happens is any application depending on whatever languages they are developing developers write code. Do you agree with me on that? Once developer has written or developed a feature to reach it to your customer, okay, it typically takes from weeks to months. Okay, so in some cases it will be weeks. Facebook does it in 1 hour and AWS is doing it in 1.5 hour. Okay, and still we are able to use the application and there is no message saying that we are doing an important update. Okay, this is the end goal for any organization, but the point is this cannot be done for two industries. Okay. One is healthcare, where the code which you are writing has an impact on human life. The other one is aviation industry. Autopilot software లో నిమిషానికి ఒక అప్డేట్ ఇస్తే విమానం ఆగిపోయింది అనుకోండి, right? So these two industries, it is not possible, but in all the other cases, it is possible to do this. Okay, right? So what are our goals now? Reduce time to market. Okay, minimize downtimes or go with zero downtime if possible, if your company can afford it. Okay, right? Okay, sir. So reduce time to market means I have to do the things quickly. Okay, so how can I do anything quickly, sir? How can I do anything quickly? So if you remember, testers were testing the code manually or testing the applications manually. They wanted to do it repeatedly and quickly, so they have done something called as test automations. Administrators wanted to install the applications quickly, so they have moved away from commands and started writing scripts. So they are doing some kind of automation. So generally automation is something which can help you to achieve the things, but when you want to automate, the first thing which you need to understand is how it is done manually. ओके, ये तो ऑटोमेट चाहिए लन्ना, कुछ भी अगर आप ऑटोमेट करना चाहते हो तो मैन्युअली कैसे चलता है पता होना चाहिए. Okay, right? So if you want to automate anything, we need to know the manual stuff. So let us try to understand that space. Okay, right, right, sir. So for some time, let us assume we are all working for, okay, any application which you are using. మీకు నచ్చిన ఏ అప్లికేషన్ తీసుకోండి, we are using that, right? Okay, so right, let it be any organization. You will have developers building features for you. Okay, so all these developers, what they do is they write code and then they store it in some common location, and that common location is something which we call as version control systems. Don't worry about the terms and names. We have approximately 90 to 100 days to understand all of this. I don't expect you to know everything today. Okay, right? So the other thing is, whatever your developers are developing, that would be used by your customers. ఇంత సంతోషంగా ఉండరు సార్ కస్టమర్లు. This is fine. Okay, customers are never that happy faces. Okay, right. Okay, so now wherever your customers are using, we generally call it as production or live environment. Okay, so your developers write the code, your customers use your application. Okay, right, fine, sir. Now developer has written the code. Can I directly update the production environment? Developers have written the code. Can I directly update production environment? No, because we don't know whether it is working or not. That is the first reason. And the second reason is developers write code in some programming language. So for example, I'm quite sure everyone here might have installed Google Chrome on your system, right? So Google Chrome is developed in C++. Okay, have you seen C++ code while installing Google Chrome? Google Chrome installation మన C++ code చూసామా? లేదు. So we got some exe executable, we double clicked it, and then we got Chrome in our system. Okay, so generally what we do is we take that code and then we do something called as build or package. Okay, so at this stage you will get some package. Okay, so if it is a mobile app, you might get an apk file. Okay, right? So if it is Windows application, you get an exe or an MSI. Okay. If it is server side application, you would get some server, whatever server understands. It could be war file, it could be zip file, it could be anything, any format for that matter. Okay. So you get the package. Now I have a package. Can I deploy? Can I directly update the production environment? No, I have not tested it yet. So what we would do is, every organization might not be doing exactly this thing, but these three boxes which I'm trying to draw, right? Here you might have 3 or 300 or one only. That depends on what your organization wants to use. Okay. Let me do one thing. Okay. Right. So, okay. I'm just drawing three things, but it could be more than three also. Right, sir. So here I'll try to tell that your organization is doing something called as system test environment. Here they are doing something called as performance test environments. Okay. So they will do all the testing over here, and then they will do all the performance tests over here. And before going to production, they will do something called as UAT or pre-prod. Okay. Leదంటే staging అని కూడా అంటుంది. Okay. Don't worry about the names, sir. These are different kinds of testings which they perform before they give to the release. So after these three areas of testings are done, then your QA manager will give an approval, and then your application will be deployed to your customers. Okay. So this is our manual space. But what could vary in your organization? This part could vary. You might have 3, you might have 5, right? That is your quality assurance process. This is something which your organization will decide. Okay. So far, are we clear so far? Yes. So this is our manual playground. Now, let us assume that you have automated. You have automated the moment developer writes the code till it reaches the production. You have automated all of it. Okay. So you have done what Facebook does. You have done what Amazon does. You have automated all of this. So if you do that, okay, let me do one thing. You have automated all the stages. Okay. Now, if you try to look at this, is it not looking like a pipeline? One step after other step? Yes. That's the reason why we basically call it as a pipeline. And if your pipeline is automating all the steps, we call it as continuous deployment. Okay. Pipeline is what we use to automate it, but this process is called as continuous deployment. So if you automate everything, then that becomes a continuous deployment. But if your organization, what it has done is it has not automated everything, but all the non-production environments it has automated. Okay. So you are not going to customers, but all the local environments you are automated. Okay. So this is called as continuous delivery. Am I clear on this, sir? Do you understand the difference between delivery and deployment now? Deployment means you go to customer directly. Delivery means you don't go to customer. You create all the local environments. You still have certain manual steps in between. Now, there is one more thing. When developer writes the code, we just build or package the code and we run very small minor tests to just give feedback to the developer whether your code is okay or not. Okay. ఈ మూడో దాంట్లో మనం డిప్లాయ్ చేయం. In this third phase, in this third category which I'm trying to tell, we don't deploy the application, but we give feedback to the developer saying that okay, your code is okay, not okay, or something like that. This is something which we basically call as continuous integration. Are we clear on this, sir? Depending on what level of automation which you do, we have three important things to understand. One is continuous integration, The other one is continuous delivery. The third one is continuous deployment. Generally, for all the projects, at least in this day and age, we have CI, that is continuous integration. Okay, so we don't start from scratch until unless it is a new project. But for all the existing projects, you will always have CI in most of the cases. Okay, and then you need to extend that to basically build these pipelines according to what your organizational goals are. Okay, right. So you and me will be working in these areas when we are working as a DevOps engineer. Are we clear on this, sir? Yeah. So continuous integration versus delivery versus deployment. Okay. Now, right. So let me try to basically speak about tools to achieve. Okay. So what are the tools which you use to achieve and what is their high level objective? Let us try to look at that. Okay, sir. So let me remove all of this. Okay. Now, developers write code and they store the code in some version control system. Okay. So in this day and age, there is not even a debate. But okay, first, do you know this person by any chance? పెద్దగా పరిచయం లేదా? Right. He was responsible for Linux kernel. When whatever Linux we are using, that kernel was actually developed by him. Okay, and he had made it open source. Okay, right. So this person has developed a version control system which has become very popular and almost all the products use it without any doubt. Okay, that is something which we call as Git. Okay, so there are many other version control systems, but we speak about Git. Okay, because it is most widely used and simple, right? It is good at many things, bad at few things. Okay, right. So developers write their code and store it to Git. Okay. When they do this, then what should happen? Your build and package should happen. Okay. If build and package is, because we are automatic now. Okay. So if build and package is success, then it system testing environment. Okay. If then this, and then this. So we have stages to achieve. We have things to do. So now the whole idea is, if anything goes wrong in any stage, you would send a notification. That could be email, SMS, whatever it is possible. So we need a software which helps us in creating these pipelines and call one stage after that stage. Do you agree with me on this? Okay. So the software that can basically do this is called as CI or CD engine. Okay. ఏ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ అయితే మనల్ని పైప్ లైన్ క్రియేట్ చేసే అవకాశం ఇచ్చి ఒక స్టేజ్ తర్వాత ఇంకో స్టేజ్ ని కాల్ చేస్తుందో దాన్ని CI/CD इंजन అంటాం. जो भी सॉफ्टवेयर ये पाइपलाइन बनाने का मौका देके एक स्टेज के बाद दूसरा स्टेज को कॉल करता है उसको हम CI/CD इंजन बोलते हैं. So as part of this course, what we would try to learn is, we would try to learn something called as Jenkins. What is the icon which I can fit? Yeah, I think this. Okay. So Jenkins. And in addition to Jenkins, what we would also try to learn is Azure DevOps. So don't get wrong with the name. Azure DevOps doesn't mean DevOps on Azure. It's a tool pair. Okay. This is the name of the tool. Earlier, this tool's name was uh, Visual Studio Team Services. Okay. So then Microsoft has rebranded it as Azure DevOps. I can use Azure DevOps. Okay. Completely on my Windows server, which is running on AWS. Azure DevOps kabatti Azure lo run avvalsina avasaram ledhu. Okay. But it has some other features also. So it can do CI/CD pipelines and it can do project management also. It can do project management also, right? So these two things you would basically learn. Okay. So I'm learning AWS, sir. Why should I learn Azure DevOps? You should learn Azure DevOps because it has something to do with pipeline. Okay. And then only learning Jenkins and Azure DevOps will not make you DevOps engineers, because what you can do with that is you can create a pipeline, and if anything goes wrong, you have to send notifications, but they will not achieve all the goals. Okay. For that, you need to learn certain tools. So where do we learn how to build pipelines now? Jenkins and Azure DevOps, right? So fine. For building and packaging, this is very, very technology specific. The way I build a .NET application might be completely different from the way I build Java application. Okay, right. So what we would do is we would learn something called as Maven. Okay, so Maven can help us in building or packaging Java applications. Okay, sir. And then we would learn something called as MS build. MS build is basically used to build .NET applications. Okay. So are these the only two programming languages? Are there is Python, there is Node.js, right? But the point is, once we learn these two, okay, the other things we will understand the basic process, and we will be able to, or we will be building pipelines also for Node.js and Python projects. So you would also learn how to build this for JavaScript based applications and also Python based applications. The other technologies I might not do it, because these four languages will cover 80% of whatever work which you are doing. So Java, .NET, Python, Node.js. Okay, right. So now for this we need to learn this. Okay. In addition to that, there are some other few steps over here, but that we will discuss elaborately. So for example, we'll also use something called as Sonar Cube and JFrog. Okay, that I'm not writing over here. Okay. Now, after this stage, you get a package. Do you agree with me on this? Okay. మీరు ఎలాగైతే Chrome install చేయడానికి వాడారో, in the same way you get a package. Okay. Right. Sir. Now you have a package. And then you need to basically run the tests. Okay. Run the automation tests which are built by your testing team in system testing environment, performance testing environment, and UAT environment. So now over here, to do that, my first question is, to install an application, I need servers. Do you agree with me on this? Yes or no? So for example, we are building Book My Show website. To test that, I need to run it on some server, right? Yeah. I need to run database on some server and all of that stuff. Okay. Do you have servers where application can be deployed? Is a reasonable question, sir? Okay. So what do you think will be the answer? So there are only two possibilities, right? Either they might try to tell yes, or they might try to tell no. So here, let us assume the answer is no, I don't have servers. The answer is yes, I have servers. Possibility wise, you don't get right. From script or from automation, I can never create a physical server. That is not possible. But I can definitely create a virtual machine. Okay, right. So here, what we would do is we would do something called as create infra. Okay, from infra provisioning tools. Okay, so for example, on cloud or virtualization software. So your company might try to tell that, okay, every time whenever you're running this pipeline, try to create infrastructure. Okay, and for that, what we would do is we would try to learn something called as Terraform. Am I clear on this, sir? Yeah. So Terraform is something which can help us in creating infra. So for example, if you want to create 10 virtual machines, Terraform can do it for you. Okay. You want to create something called as Kubernetes on the cloud, Terraform can do it for you. You want to create anything physical in nature, Terraform cannot do that. But anything virtual in nature, Terraform can do it. Okay. Right. Now, if the answer is yes, that means that there is already a server. So in the server, I have to deploy the application, right? So deploy application using configuration management. The reason why we use configuration management is it is simple, and you will basically try to speak about something called as desired state. So at this moment, let us not worry about this, but the whole point is there we will try to tell, or let it be Terraform or let it be Ansible. We will never tell how to create. Okay. ఈ రెండు టూల్లో when we are using these two tools, okay, we will never tell them how to create. We will just tell them what we want. Okay. So for example, I will never try to tell Terraform saying that, okay, Terraform, now you open portal.azure.com and then right click there, left click there. No. Okay, I'll try to tell that I am looking out for one Azure virtual machine, or I am looking out for one AWS machine with this configuration. Then Terraform will create it for you. Okay. So when I'm using Ansible to deploy application, I will never try to tell that to install Apache to execute sudo apt install Apache 2. No, I will just try to tell that I want Apache to be present. You figure out what you have to do. Okay. So in these two things, we will learn something called as desired state. Okay. So any infrastructure which you want, we will create it from Terraform. To install applications, we will use Ansible. Are you clear on this, sir? Yes. So the best part is I can use the same tools. Let it be for system testing environment, or let it be for any environment for that matter. Okay, right. So I can use Terraform and Ansible for all the environments which I'm trying to speak about. Okay, right, sir. I'll give you time for Santoshi. I'll give you time for questions. Let me finish it and then I'll give you time for questions. Right. So I'm quite sure that you might have heard about Docker and Kubernetes. Yes, right. So generally, to run applications, we have two choices so far: run the application directly on a physical server, run the application on a virtual machine. So Docker has brought in, it is not, I should not be calling it as a new approach, but it has given us a very portable approach that we call as container. Okay. So when you are using Docker technology, then what would happen is when you are building a package, you will build a package over here, which is called as Docker image. Okay. And to run your application, where you are creating virtual machines, we don't create virtual machines, but we create something which we basically call as Kubernetes cluster. So from Terraform, I'll be creating Kubernetes cluster. Okay. So now if your organization is using container technology, then build or package will have Docker, and then for deploying applications, we will be dealing with Kubernetes. To create Kubernetes, we will again use Terraform. Are you getting the whole point? Terraform's job is create infrastructure, and Kubernetes is a cluster. Okay. So cluster and TNT ఇలాంటి పదాలన్నీ మనం నేర్చుకుందాం. Don't assume that you will know all of that today. Okay. So are we seeing relevance of the tools, sir? Yes. So what is the purpose of Git? You might not know commands, but at least today we should be able to understand that, okay, Git is where developers store the code. Okay. So Maven, to build some application. Docker, to create some package. And then to create test environments, I might be using Terraform, Ansible, and Kubernetes. These three tools combination, whatever works out for me. Okay, right. Now, when you are doing this, our responsibility is not only to deploy the application, but ensure that when things go wrong, you should be able to quickly make it work. Minimize downtimes, if you remember that. And for that, and from here to here, if you see, we deal with lot of servers. Avuna kada? Okay. So the journey of the code from developer's laptop to your customer using some feature on your application, there are a lot of servers which we deal with. If some servers go down, then it will impact our time to market. Yes or no? So for that, we need to have monitoring. Okay. So for that, what we would learn is we would learn Elastic Stack. And using Elastic Stack, we will be doing two kinds of monitoring. One is something which we call as server monitoring. Server is alive or not, service is up or not. Simple kind of monitoring. And also we would be doing log monitoring. Okay. So that when things go wrong, it should be easy for the developers to fix that. So we'll set up that. Okay. Right. So are we clear on this so far, sir? Yeah. Right. So I'm not expecting you to know every term which I'm trying to speak. Okay, that is definitely not my assumption, but I'm just trying to give you an overview of it. This is a 10,000 feet overview of what happens in DevOps. Okay. Now, do you agree that Google might be doing DevOps? Google DevOps చేద్దంటారా? చేత్తదా చేయదా? Google, do you think will do DevOps or not? For YouTube, for Google search, for Gmail, do you think they are doing DevOps? Yes. What Google has done is the way Google does DevOps and handles its production systems. Because if you see Google, the amount of users which use Google is very high. So what they have done is they have spoken about all of those principles by publishing this book few years ago. Okay, which is called as Site Reliability Engineering. So site reliability engineering, what it speaks about is how to ensure that your production systems are running stable. Okay. So in addition to DevOps, this speaks about few things extra which you need to do. So this opens up a new area or a new job description for us, which is called as site reliability engineer. We will also learn about this. Are we clear so far, sir? Yeah. And then Avala Inca, right? So these days there is a need for security everywhere. Okay. All right. So when we do DevOps, what we will try to do is we will try to ensure that it is secure at every phase. So developers have written a secure code. Your package is compliant to security. Your system testing environments and everything will not have any vulnerability problems, right? So when you also bring security into this, generally what happens is you will build the application. Just before you are going to customers, you will release that to the security team. You might have heard about ethical hacking, right? Or you might have seen about these English movies, especially military movies, where you will have two teams, and then they will be playing with toy guns. One team tries to attack, other team tries to defend. Okay, మిలిటరీలో దీన్ని రెడ్ బ్లూ అటాక్స్ అంట. సో రెడ్ టీమ్ is trying to attack you and blue team is trying to defend you. So security team will do all those kind of things on your application, but that happens before you are going to the customer. Okay, but when you do certain things before happening your customer, going to customer, and then if you try to tell that there are some problems, again I have to start from beginning. So the basic idea is, why don't I do security at every phase in DevOps? This has led to something which we call as DevSecOps. Okay, so we'll be doing DevSecOps with Jenkins as well as with Azure DevOps, but we'll be doing it in a workshop. We'll be doing this in a workshop. Okay, I'll speak about what workshops are. Okay, so at least do we understand the relevance of tools now, sir? Which tool is used for what purpose? Yeah, right, sir. Now, so roles we can target with this. Obviously, you can target a role of, sorry, obviously you can target a role of DevOps engineer. Okay, and then there is something called as cloud ops. This is for the people who learn one cloud. So for example, if you learn AWS, Azure, GCP, or any cloud for that matter, you can become cloud ops because you know cloud administration and also you know CI/CD pipelines. Okay, and then SRE, site reliability engineer, and DevSecOps engineer. So in this course, I'm focusing on these four roles. Okay, right. I'm not sure whether you have seen the board or not. I've got it designed where Rajnikant flies a gun and it becomes into four different things. Mundo ledana teliyadu, right? But yeah, this is what we focus on, and these things take time to understand. Okay, so that's the reason our course duration is 110 days. Okay, and generally it has gone 20 to 30 days more than that. Okay, right. So you have seen these many things, right? The reason why it has gone more than that is, okay, so one thing all of you agree is economy is not good, right? Do you agree with me on that? Avuna kada, right? So when economy is not good, companies would not hire anyone. Okay, they would want to hire a person who is skilled. Okay, so for that reason, what I have done from the last few months is, okay, I have added GitOps. Okay, so we have added Azure DevOps, a complete dive. Okay, so Azure DevOps, which we used to speak for 10 hours, now I'm speaking for 30 hours. Okay, right? So, and then we started doing DevSecOps from both the CI/CD engines. Okay, and then from Terraform, we learn how to work with AWS and Azure workloads. Okay, so the things generally what I do is I try to cover as much as possible, and then if you try to look at Kubernetes, okay, so in Kubernetes what you do is you would basically create manifests. Okay, so I'm not sure, but generally it is said that Kubernetes classes Docker will take 3 days and Kubernetes in 2 days. Okay, for me in the class itself I have written 50 manifests. For me Kubernetes takes a hell lot of time because uh, you go and search for what are the top tech skills in 2023. Okay, they have given DevOps engineer, they have given all of that, and they have given special place for Kubernetes. Okay, సో నాకు వచ్చినయే చెప్పేసి అదే రియల్ టైం అని చెప్పే అలవాటు నాకు లేదు. ఓకే, సో ఐ డోంట్ బిలీవ్ ఇన్ దట్ బికాస్ వన్ థింగ్ విచ్ యూ నీడ్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ ఇస్ సార్, రియల్ టైం అన్న మాట నేను ఎక్కువ వాడతానంటే నేను మిమ్మల్ని మోసం చేస్తాను వాడతాను. ఎందుకంటే లెట్ మీ ట్రై టు గివ్ యూ వెరీ సింపుల్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్. ఇన్ మై ఆర్గనైజేషన్ it might be completely non-cloud organization. Yeah, and then servers are already present. So that means my real-time scenario is only Ansible, right? So real-time అన్నది ఒక్కటే చెప్తే సరిపోద్దా? Are we clear on that? Yes. So that's the reason what I do is we try many things. We try many things, and then the other problem which I have is when I start, I have to start at zero, but I cannot end somewhere in between because I have people who are from freshers to delivery managers in the class. I have to cover everything. Okay, and I don't have a habit of skipping. Okay, but what I do is I stretch and I make you stretch. So sometimes we will have a class for longer durations. The reason for that is because I want you to be skilled. Okay, అందుకే అంటే अन्नी चोटला 45 రోజుల్లో అయిపోతుంది सब जगह 45 डेज में हो जाता है DevOps आपका इतना दिन क्यों लगता है शायद मुझे उतना जल्दी बोलना नहीं आता है but one thing which I can promise is we will be learning whatever is required or let me put it in this way my goal of this class is not to make you successful in an interview if that was the case 110 days is not required okay my goal is to make you work in an organization when work is given to you so at least 60 to 70% of the work you should be able to start working and then you would be stuck there is no doubt okay this job is like traffic cops job let me give you a simple example you started from Amirpet you are going to Gachibowli road is completely no traffic jams and everything so you have gone reached Gachibowli in 15 minutes okay e process lo ये ప్రాసెస్ में आपको ట్రాఫిక్ కానిస్టేబుల్ యాद आता है क्या మీరు 15 నిమిషాలు ఇక్కడ నుండి గచ్చిబౌలి వెళ్తే మీకు కానిస్టేబుల్ గుర్తుకొస్తాడా రాడు 3 సార్లు జామ్ అవుతే అసలు వీళ్ళకి జీతాలు ఎందుకు ఇస్తున్నారు వీడి పేరేంటి అవునా సో అన్ఫార్చునేట్లీ వి ఫాల్ ఇన్ దట్ కేటగిరీ వెన్ అప్లికేషన్స్ ఆర్ గోయింగ్ స్మూత్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్ ఈస్ వర్కింగ్ యూ ఆర్ రెస్పాన్సిబుల్ ఫర్ దట్ బట్ యూ మైట్ నాట్ గెట్ దట్ అటెన్షన్ బట్ వెన్ సంథింగ్ గోస్ రాంగ్ యూ విల్ బి ద ఫస్ట్ పర్సన్ వాట్ హ్యాస్ హ్యాపెండ్ yeah so we are working on those kind of areas other thing which I want to speak about DevOps is not R&D anymore from COVID actually DevOps is no longer R&D research and development project kaadu it is a necessity for every organization because it cuts down costs in terms of number of people in terms of servers which you use in terms of everything okay so no matter whatever is the economical situation you will have jobs on this okay but one thing that could happen is interviews might go tougher okay and let us be prepared for that ఎకానమీని మీరు నేను ఏం చేయలేం ప్రార్థతం తప్ప మనం చేయగలిగింది అంటే మన స్కిల్స్ ని పెంచుకోగలం ఎకానమీ को हम कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते है ना बस ज्यादा से ज्यादा प्रे करेंगे कि अच्छा हो जाए but one thing which we can do is we can be skilled right are we clear on this sir and one thing there are certain things with respect to our course okay so so every day today I'll not be uploading the notes over here because it is a demo okay uh, this is a place where you can see classroom notes okay so in this if you click and then if you look at DevOps classroom notes you would be seeing more than 2 years of classroom notes okay so you can basically go over here and then figure out whether I cover everything or not okay na right okay this is for DevOps sir anyone who has questions I think Santoshi you had a question right now you can ask actually to be we'll be working on single node Kubernetes cluster on premises and then we'll be using something called as managed Kubernetes which is highly available by default so you look at both HA and what you call single master Kubernetes cluster but I can point out towards a documentation of highly available because all you need to do is extra 2 steps you need to execute okay yeah
I have a question, Kaja. Is it the weekend session and the daily session both for the same batches or weekend batches are different?
okay so the question is I'll speak to you okay the question is whether weekend session and daily sessions are different no they are not they are continuous okay so I don't have anything called as weekend batch so it is a continuation session sir and you have to attend both
Okay.
okay
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Okay so Santoshi I think I have unmuted you no I don't see a mic option to you I'm not sure your audio might not be connected okay are job people also applicable for JOIP okay we have other program which is called as JOIP sir I'll be discussing that on Thursday okay anything specific to JOIP let us have a whole discussion on Thursday today let us focus on the skills JOIP is an elaborate program where you need to stay for 8 hours okay so every day you need to stay for 8 hours and that would be where I'll be giving you scenarios and then you work every day it is an intensive program okay but on that for that program this Thursday at 11 o'clock we'll have a demo on that okay right So do we cover ECS and EKS? We don't cover ECS, sir, because ECS is a worst product which Amazon has unnecessarily built, uh, because they have tried to build an alternative for Kubernetes which didn't work out. Okay, so very few people use ECS. We'll be covering EKS, sir. Elastic Kubernetes Services, which is Kubernetes on AWS, and Azure Kubernetes Service, which is Kubernetes on Azure. So we'll be learning these two things. Sir, if you want to learn DevOps, do we need to? No. If you try to look at it, we will not write Java code, we will not write Python code, we will not write .NET code or any code for that matter, but we will build the code. So all you need is one or two commands. మన Python code రాయమండి, Python code ని build చేస్తాం. Okay, Java code రాయం, Java code ని build చేస్తాం. So we are not dealing with languages, we are dealing with commands. Yeah, right. So Azure DevOps or AWS DevOps? Santoshi, I think I have unmuted you. You can you have self-muted. Now you try. Okay. So Azure DevOps or AWS DevOps? Are you speaking about the course or the tool which you have shown? దేని గురించి అది? Right. Fine. So, sir, if you are a DevOps engineer, actually, to be very honest, which cloud doesn't matter. Okay. Learn any cloud, you will have jobs. You go into job descriptions, you would see I need a DevOps engineer with at least one cloud skill, AWS or Azure or GCP. Generally, this is the most elaborate discussions. Rarely you would also see specific things. Okay, that is always the case. That is always the case. Okay. How useful is this course in the light of current market state? Okay, so again, I think I've answered that question earlier also. We are no longer the R&D thing. So we are an essential service. Okay, so the impact of the economic situations is the skills which you need to crack or get into the company have increased. Okay, so but if you understand any economic discussion which we had earlier on, we had, I think, we had two recessions, at least in my career. So after every two recessions, suddenly the job market spikes. Okay, so and generally recession will be there for 3 to 6 months. Okay, after 3 to 6 months, if you will see a boom in market, that has happened. Don't trust me, just go to any article on recession. Okay, even if it is a recession today, I don't think so. We have too much of effect on that, but you might have seen companies are laying off employees. That happens every year, sir. But this year the things that were different was Google and Microsoft also have laid off employees. That's true, because yeah. And if you try to look at what is happening with Google, from the last 2 days, Google shares are dropping the moment Microsoft has announced Bing with ChatGPT. Okay, Bing ChatGPT కలిపి ఒక ప్రొడక్ట్ బిల్డ్ చేయగానే గూగుల్ సెర్చ్ భయం వేసి స్టాక్ రేట్లు పడుతున్నాయి. So what, see, the thing which we need to understand is, even in this class, generally I use Google search a lot. From last few days I'm using ChatGPT also. So ChatGPT will not remove your jobs. The people who don't know how to use those tools will become obsolete. So yeah, right. Certification completion support. What certification? I don't expect you to do any certification. First of all, if you really want to do a certification in DevOps, do certified Kubernetes administrator or certified Kubernetes application developer. ఈ రెండు తప్ప మిగతా ఏ సర్టిఫికేషన్ నాలుగు గీసుకొని కూడా పనికిరాదు. Okay, if you
Okay,
really want to
thanks. Yeah.
do this certification, try one of these, because uh, certified Kubernetes administrator, in that process you would learn Kubernetes deeply. That's the reason I'm asking you to do that. And if you are already an employee, get a reimbursement from your organization. Do the certification, get a reimbursement. Don't spend your money, not required. So for example,
Yeah.
no one tries to tell that I need a DevOps engineer who is certified. No. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions?
One question, sir. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Sir, basically, sir, I just wanted to know that
Hmm.
do we have any live projects, and sir, how many experience can we put, sir, after completing this course?
Okay, so the question is, do we have any live projects, and how many years of experience can we add in our resume? Right. So first thing is, we will take any and every open source project that is possible. There are a lot of open source e-commerce projects, open source insurance products. That is what we will be deploying. Okay, so our job is to create CI/CD pipeline, not to really focus on what application we are deploying. So that is the first thing. And the second question is, can you repeat your second question? What was it?
Basically asking, sir, after completion of the 4 months course, and basically
How many
NA's
years?
experience
How many years
sir?
of experience? So there are people who are who are adding in the range of 3 to 6, sir. Okay, so for the people who go with 6, their primary skill is Jenkins. Okay, so they start from Jenkins and Git. So somewhere in between 3 to 6 you can conveniently add. Okay,
So one more question, sir.
right, sir.
Sir, ఇప్పుడు AWS, sorry, like if I'm going for this AWS and DevOps course, sorry, AWS and what do you call that? DevOps and AWS. So will you be teaching Azure DevOps also in this, or is it different?
Okay, so if I learn DevOps and AWS, will I be learning Azure DevOps? Azure DevOps is part of our DevOps course, sir. So whether you learn AWS or don't learn AWS, you will be learning Azure DevOps.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Right.
Sir,
Okay.
what about the basic foundation courses like AWS and Linux? Some things basics we need, right? So
Okay.
how we are going
So
to
first
pick it
thing
up?
is what about the basics? Okay, tomorrow in the class I'll start my journey with what are the basics which you need to know to basically get into this. Today we don't have time for that. And the next thing is I need to know AWS basics. You really don't need to know AWS basics. All you need to do is, because while we are doing DevOps, I need to deal with lot of servers. So when I need servers, because we don't have servers with us, we'll use some cloud. So we'll be using either AWS or Azure. In the class, I'll be using both. You decide one of the cloud and you can use that for learning DevOps. And both the clouds give you free options. That is what we'll be sticking to most of the cases. But free will not work out when we are dealing with Jenkins, when we are dealing with Elasticstack, and when we are dealing with Kubernetes. ఆ రెండు కేసులో ఫ్రీ టైర్ మెషిన్లు పనిచేయవు. సో ఇన్ దట్ కేసెస్ యువర్ మంత్లీ బిల్స్ విల్ be from 200 to 300 rupees. Okay, so if you go with Azure account, you can go with zero, because in the first month they give you $200. Okay, right. Do we cover Linux commands and shell scripts? No, sir, we don't cover Linux commands and shell scripts. We will be using them. Okay, because I don't believe in this thing saying that, okay, ls list the directories, and if you see that list, you learning Linux is a myth. That will never work out. So what we would do is, let us try to learn Linux in a way that has been different. Okay, so if you want to learn it in a what do you call conventional way, there are 39 videos of Linux by me already shared on YouTube. Okay, but what you would do is, that approach will never work. That 39 you will never be able to complete. Okay, but what we will do is, we will learn Linux on the job. Okay, right. So tomorrow I'll start my discussion with respect to people who know Linux and who know Windows. We'll start from there. Okay, so don't worry about that
Sir,
foundations part at
ఇప్పుడు
this moment. Yeah.
హలో
Hello, go ahead, madam.
సార్ ఇప్పుడు SQL లైనక్స్ రావాలా సార్ ఇప్పుడు AWS ప్లస్ DevOps కి?
Okay, so for AWS and DevOps, do we need to know SQL and Linux? So first of all, I don't need SQL, right? So there might be rare scenarios where I will be using SQL. That is, I will be calling SQL. That's it. And Linux, yeah, you should be comfortable with Linux. That's the whole idea over here. Okay, so do I need to be a Linux admin to work on DevOps? No, but I should be comfortable with command line. I should be comfortable with Linux. That is what we will try to do going down the line. So any tool will be using in both the worlds, Windows as well as Linux, wherever it is applicable. Okay, so tomorrow I don't expect you to know anything Linux. అంటే ఎన్నాళ్ళు రాంది ఒక రోజులో రాదు కదా, right? So let us focus on learning in a phased manner. Okay, right.
సార్ పైథాన్ గానీ జావా గానీ రావాలా సార్ ఇప్పుడు
Okay,
AWS
Python.
కానీ?
No, you don't need to know Python or Java. Python is a value-added skill. So if you know Python, you can automate better. Okay, so Python is not required, but scripting is required. Shell scripting is required. Python is a value-added skill. I don't need to know Java at all. Okay,
సార్
ఎందుకంటే
AWS
మన
ప్లస్
మనం
DevOps
మన
మీద
కోడ్
అది జాబ్స్
కోడ్ రాయమమ్మా, ఒక్క నిమిషం. మనం కోడ్ రాయమమ్మా, మన కోడ్ ని బిల్డ్ చేస్తాం. అదొక్కటి గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి. వీఆర్ నాట్ రైటింగ్ కోడ్, వీఆర్ బిల్డింగ్ కోడ్. Okay, yeah, you had some question on AWS. Guys, I have to stop the session because there is a AWS session also. So I think I have to stop it at that. If there are any questions which I was unable to answer, try to you can ask me tomorrow also. Tomorrow also I'll give you time.